Hello everybody, welcome back, and today I'm going to take a look at my latest logo. This is actually a logo that I started working on for myself. It was about probably late 2016, somewhere around there. I had just gotten back into graphic design after some time off and was toying around with some logo ideas for myself as I was redoing my portfolio at the time. And I originally came up with the idea of, basically it started off as a Phoenix Down, if you're familiar with the Final Fantasy video games. I like the analogy of life and coming back to life, because I kind of saw myself getting back into creative inspiration again. So I sort of came up with the idea of this, like a Phoenix Down, like it was twirling in a circle. The funny thing is, looking back on it now, because now I've dropped the whole idea of it being a Phoenix Down, and now I just recognize that as just a feather. But it's funny because if you actually do your research on the difference between a feather and down, down is usually a much furrier, hairier, thinner, and a lot less more beautiful of a thing than most of the time when you see something aesthetically appealing, it's a full-blown feather, not down. So then I think about 2019, I cleaned it up a little bit. I kind of went on and off of using it and not using it. I had other logos. I had another logo that I used for myself. It depended on what I was doing at the time, what type of content, what kind of type of creative work I was into. But now specifically with this version here, I'm at this point in time, I have years of experience of working as a graphic designer that I didn't have in the past, and I've learned a lot about doing logos and among so many other things. As you can see here, I am working in Affinity Designer 2. I just got this recently. There's a huge improvement of features in Affinity Designer 2 that were not here before. Most specifically, the Shape Builder tool, which to me is kind of, if I had to list off, one or two or three tools that have actually made a difference for me, it would be one of the top ones. For the most part, I am definitely of the mindset that they're just tools, and you make the work. The tool, you use the tools, they don't use you. But the Shape Builder is a big one for me. Now you can see here, I'm taking the approach. I started off with pencil and paper, and much to my shock, maybe it's just because I was able to envision it for a long time. Like I said, it's an old logo I just improved. I basically nailed it on my first try. This was literally my first rendition of the drawing. I got it, and when I went in here, I was surprised when I drew my first circle in there, just how much of a circle it actually was, and just how many of these sort of feathery fin shapes actually fit into a bit of a circle. And basically the idea is start with pencil and paper and just nail the basic idea down, and then go into Designer, and then really start to draw out the logo. And see, what I'm doing is I'm drawing the circle, and I'm finding one of those shapes, and then I'm alt dragging it over to create a copy, and then I'm just subtracting it out. So rather than using the pencil for everything, which can be a little bit sloppy, trying to use perfect circles instead to try to make the shape as perfect as possible. And then after doing all these cutouts, you can just add them together either with the Shape Builder or with the Pathfinder tools. Just going in one by one, adding and subtracting, adding and subtracting. It's really a pretty simple process once you know what you're doing. I will say I definitely did have a good experience in Affinity Designer overall. I will say that it did slow down on me at one point in the process, and it did crash on me at one point, so it is definitely not perfect. Part of that is just, with it being so much more affordable, you can't expect it to be perfect. But considering how much more affordable it is, I really can't say much negative about it. One thing I love about the shape builder is that I never really have to worry about where anything is. I don't have to worry about what's on top or below anything. I'm just focusing on drawing. I did get a little bit stuck there. You see, for a while I wasn't really doing anything. I think I just got stuck on what I was looking at in terms of what pieces I had and what I had to add or subtract out, just stopping and thinking as I went through all those top shapes, so the top part of the feather, and now I'm starting to move on to the bottom ones. It can get a little bit confusing once you get to this many pieces, adding them on together. And you notice I'm not really using any pen tool stuff right now. I do that at the end just to sort of clean things up, because this isn't going to be a perfect process. The knife tool, that's another thing I believe they added in version 2 of Affinity Designer. Definitely helpful. Now, one thing I will say is, you'll see later on there's going to be a few things that I'm going to fix up later. I don't really worry about that yet. At this point in time, I'm just trying to get all the pieces in there one by one. And again, I try to base the whole thing on the idea of it kind of wrapping around a circle. And you see, okay, I'm starting to say, okay, that area right there isn't really a perfect circle. It's a little bit crooked. Eventually you'll see me go in there, finally clean it up. Thing I notice is that when this is in red, it almost reminds me of the Mozilla Firefox logo. But the intended result is not going to be red. So you can see there, I did use the circle to kind of, I'm smoothing out the left side there. I'm kind of turning it on and off, asking myself, do I want to do this? And I ended up concluding that yes, I did want to simplify that left edge there. And now here, I'm going through, I'm finding pieces and parts that maybe I can improve on, smooth it out just a bit. That little crevice in there, I end up working on that a little bit, like more than just a little. Here I'm just like, okay, you know, it's a little bit of a harsh shape in there, maybe we can smooth that out a little bit. Again, just adding and subtracting in there, so there you go, now it's a nice curved shape in there. Sometimes you realize you have an extra point in there, don't need it. And just making all those little fin shapes out of circles rather than the pen tool can really just help to keep things very nice and clean and consistent. You don't want people to maybe be just looking at and being distracted by imperfections in the logo. I definitely like what they did with the interface with this program. I like what they did with the tools on the left side in version 2. They stuck with the the colored tools look, which I like that because it's different than what Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign have. But they did kind of redesign them a little bit. They're a little bit more refined looking. The colors aren't necessarily screaming at you, kind of like they did in version 1. But there is an option. You can turn them into all white. You can make them look minimal if you prefer. Yeah, I just think there's kind of a coolness factor with Affinity software right now. It's definitely nice to have the affordable alternative to Adobe. And I think overall, I think there's some high hopes for this. Again, just now you see me finally going in with the pen tool and just cleaning up some areas where I'm like, you know what, that can be a little bit more of a perfect curve in there, because this is going to be my logo, so I want to make sure I'm happy with it. Again, just draw this in here, shape builder it in, try to clean it up a bit. And this is about the time where I think it started to slow down on me a little bit, and I started to get frustrated just a little. as I started to get more points in there. For the most part, this is pretty much the entire process. I think I just edited out a couple of times where I just opened up my folders, and a couple of times where there were just a couple of dead spots in there where I didn't move for a minute or two. There's always going to be times in the process where you just kind of stop and think. And this is a little bit of stopping and thinking right here. Okay, now here, I think I saw that one fin shape there. It was like, yeah, I think I can curve that in a little bit. It was bothering me a little bit, like it was too close into the rest of the shape. Just looking at the whole thing, like, is there anything that's gonna bother me if I live with this logo indefinitely? Is it gonna bother me that something is a little too close or a little too far away, or maybe I should have curved that out a little bit more? And there it crashed. And now I'm back to opening up again. So it's not perfect, but again, like I said, other than that, I definitely enjoyed my time in Affinity Designer. Again, I'm looking at it, I'm just kind of messing around with it, asking myself, well, do I think I should bring it in a little bit, bring it out a little bit, bring this down? Not wanting to walk away from it until I've kind of tested that out. Now I'm just curving it in just a little bit here. Just drawing those shapes in so I can have something to add and subtract from. Again, a lot of this is just using the shape builder, using the Pathfinder stuff as well. I'm definitely relying on the shape builder for the vast majority of this process. In case you're wondering, I'm not worrying about what the color of anything is. I'm just picking random colors here and there just so that I can tell different pieces and parts away from each other. Using transparency when I have to see things over top of each other. Like those circles, I just made the layer less opacity so you can just see through it. For the most part with this logo, I use a gradient, which is kind of a magenta to a cyan to a neon green color. And I've debated on it every now and then. We'll see if I stick with it indefinitely, but I definitely believe it's very eye striking, and I kind of like it myself. And it's weird because like it's a feather, so it's a very like kind of sensitive, beautiful, and organic thing. But I have like this very digital, like neon light color scheme coming through it. I'm happy that, I don't have a logo that just, screams, hey, I'm a graphic designer. It's my own thing, and that way it kind of works as a mark for myself. That's what I think a good logo does, among so many other things, is it's just iconic for you. And there's the color scheme, as you can see what I was talking about. White-black version. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. Give me a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks.